You are listening to Perplexity.
Located at 8221 Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, California, and built in 1929, this iconic hotel goes for as much as $1,575 a night. Over the years, it has become notorious for taking in some of Hollywood's biggest directors, actors, musicians, photographers, and directors. And there is a ton of lore. Their saying is, always a safe haven, always open. The hotel includes well-landscaped courtyards, intimate and cozy guest rooms, studio-style retreat rooms, and some rooms even include a full living room, separate dining room, full kitchen, balconies, terraces that overlook the Hollywood Hills. You really can have it all at this place. You can even dine at the hotel's patio and enjoy a delicious meal. According to architecturaldigest.com, this hotel has been a beloved retreat for those craving a temporary, or sometimes not so temporary, home away from the prying eyes of the public and the press. It became so popular because of its privacy. As the old Hollywood adage goes, if you want to be seen, go to the Beverly Hills Hotel. If you don't want to be seen, go here. But this is more than just a hotel. It's a magnet for the strange and otherworldly. Some guests have checked in and seemingly never checked out. This is the story of the Chateau Marmont. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Perplexity, a mystery podcast. As always, I am your host, Kaydra, and if you are new here, hello and welcome. I tell tales every single week that have perplexed me, so if you love a good mystery that leaves you wanting more, don't worry, you're in the right place. And if you end up enjoying this episode, I would love it if you follow along. And if you are a returning listener, hello, my friends. Welcome back. So happy you're here. I have a great spooky episode for you guys today. And I am not alone. I'm so excited because on this episode, I am joined by Rachel and Heather from the Like Mother, Like Murder podcast.
Yes, yes, you are. Okay,
Yeah.
so after that intro, I have full body chills already. You have such a way with your words. I just have to start by that. Like the way
my
that
goodness.
you just read it and say it, just instantly, I am so ready. So ready. But thank you so much for having us here. We are so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought this would be a fun one. I always let my guests pick the topic, and Rachel was like something along the lines of dark history. So I thought this would be a fun one. The Chateau Marmont is such an iconic hotel, and I really don't know much about it, but I know that Heather lives in California.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the Chateau Marmont?
I have heard of it, and I've heard some of the so I actually, for a little bit of time, I worked at UCLA, which is off of Sunset. And so yeah, no, I've heard of it, but I don't know all of the spookiness. But I have heard that saying where it's like, oh, go to the Beverly, Hills Hotel, and then but this one is where like you're like hiding pretty much if you
Yeah.
go there, right?
Yes, it's super private, and that's what's attracted so many celebrities to it, is so they can get out of the limelight. But it's got
so wild.
There's so much that you can dig up about this place because so many celebrities have stayed here or lived here long term, and it's been around like over 100 years. So I'm not even gonna scratch the surface of how many things you could dig up about this place, but I think we'll still get into quite a bit, so I'm excited.
Yes, for sure.
I'm excited for it too. And, you had given kind of a few options of what we could choose from. And I knew I didn't want true crime. We talk about that all the time. So I was like, oh, we're doing dark history. I cannot wait. This is so exciting.
I like mixing it up. It's good for my mental health as well. But over at Like Mother, Like Murder, you get lots of true crime. And I know some of my favorite stories that people tell me I've covered on here are true crime ones. So definitely go check out Heather and Rachel wherever you guys get your podcasts. They're awesome. And I just want to say something that I really appreciate about y'all is how passionate you are about the cases. And I'm also like a big empath person. So finding other empaths who, like, to me, y'all are very clearly empaths when y'all are talking about true crime and like crying and getting emotional. And it's just like, this is so, but you do it in like, it's not an over the top way, if that makes sense. It's like, it's a real, genuine emotion, a connection to the case. And you guys cover things in very respectful ways. So I always say it's important to cover true crime in an ethical way. And I feel like you guys do that. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you for that. I feel like that was probably like, if we could just bottle that up as a review and like put it out there, that's exactly what we would love people
I'll
to
go write
hear.
it.
That's our new trailer trade. I'm just going to
we need the
take that
transcription of that right there. Yeah.
You can just take the
I really
soundbite.
appreciate that. Soundbite it. Exactly. We definitely are empaths. And I think we even for the sake of people not having to hear us blubber over the mics, we even do try to like hold back a little bit. There has definitely been episodes where we have had to cut certain parts because we're like hiccuping, crying, and having to like, and so we really appreciate that. And we do I think make sure that we're trying to really, I think when we started, we didn't realize how much you can advocate for a victim, a survivor, families, people who are in the same types of situations as the cases we cover. And then, as we grew, we realized like there's a platform here for that. And so that's something that we definitely strive to do. So thank you for saying that. That was like, I love that so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, y'all are awesome. I really appreciate the cases y'all covered. The one that you covered about Amber and the reason for the Amber Alert, like really educated me on that case. I truly had no idea about it. And I know like another big podcast just recently covered her case. So I'm glad that her story is getting more coverage now. That was a really good episode and it made me cry. So
Oh, it made me cry.
I know. I remember.
Where I just was like, no, it's not me today. Because I mean, in all honesty, Heather's more of the crier. Even though I do cry a lot, it comes out from her a lot. And so I was like, hold yourself together. You can get through it. You can do it. But then at the same time, like the way that you said it, other people feel that too. And we're not going to cut something out that we know is just, it's the truth behind what we're feeling in that moment. And that is so important for us to show. And so it's in there.
Yeah.
It's in there.
100%. Keep it real.
Keep it real.
Well, before I get into the story, I, as always, just want to issue a brief trigger warning as this podcast is not for children, so listener discretion is advised. And as always, all of the sources that were used for this episode will be available down in the show notes. So without further ado, let's get into the history of the Chateau Marmont.
Yes, please. Woo!
Fred Horowitz, Los Angeles attorney, was the reason the Chateau Marmont came to be. He is in the third slide, and I'll put all of these photos in the YouTube video and on the Instagram. So Horowitz was inspired by European chateaus, specifically sorry if I say this wrong, specifically the Chateau d'Amboise in Loire Valley, France, which I could be wrong, but I think that's what's in the fourth slide.
Looks good to me.
Yeah. Sounded right. Looked great. All of the above.
I try my best. It seems like he was well-traveled and really enjoyed his time in Europe. So he just wanted to kind of bring a taste of that classic, really elegant architecture to the States. That wasn't really something a lot of people had done during this time period. So Horowitz had the money. He's an attorney, and he had hired these architects, Arnold A. Weitzman and William Douglas Lee, and they got to work. And the whole idea was that they were going to make this place look like a castle, essentially. So when Fred Horowitz first built the chateau in the late 1920s, it was pretty crazy because this was a dirt road. There was nothing here. it was very empty. It's not like Sunset Boulevard today. So it was really weird to just like put this giant, gorgeous building on a dirt road. There was like a post office. It was essentially a small town, you know? So he decided that he was going to build in this area because the taxes were lower. There were less hoops you had to jump through, less inspections. Land was cheaper. It was like win, win, win. So he was able to build this pretty quickly. It was also close to Beverly Hills and Hollywood. So it was kind of this ideal place. It was cheap and essentially lawless.
Yeah, that sounds
So,
perfect.
yeah.
The way Hollywood likes it.
Right? Yeah,
I
I feel
know.
like not much has changed.
Right?
I need to look up the address and see too, because my dad worked right off of Wilshire in Sunset for 30 years. And so I'm like,
Oh.
how close was this? Like,
It'd
I
probably
want to
be about 5 miles
I was gonna
ish,
say, I need
which
to
in
see if
LA
it's
is like
something
an
that we-
hour, but
exactly.
you know.
I was like, nothing's close when you're driving.
That's true.
But I'm like, if I'm driving to his office, is it something that like, because of course the name like sounded familiar, but it's not something that's like, as soon as you say it, the picture pops up in my head. So I'm like, oh my gosh, which one was it?
Yeah, I can't. Where was it in the? It's 8221 Sunset Boulevard is the
Hmm.
address.
Okay.
So, when the Marmont was constructed, they used this earthquake-proof combination of concrete and reinforced steel. So it's really strong. And inside, you would find 43 apartments with a variety of floor plans. So there's pictures in the slides of all those. It's crazy how many different kinds of rooms there are. Like, there's so much I didn't even include in the presentation. This place is massive. There's like every kind of floor plan imaginable, anywhere from 1 room to 6 rooms. There's furnished apartments, there's kitchens, there's bungalows, and it's insanely expensive to stay here. When they opened February 1st, 1929, the most spacious apartment went for $750 per month, which is like $13,453 today.
My
Gosh.
goodness gracious.
Astronomical right off the bat.
I saw a garden and instantly I was like, this could be your venue, but
I don't got that kind of money. Yeah, no, this place is insanely expensive. Like when I was on their website, I was like, okay, how much for 2 adults? Let me look this up. And the cheapest they had was, I think, $700 something a night. And then like the bungalows were like $1,500 a night. It was crazy.
Oh my
you had to pay to access the site to get in to look at the rooms.
Yeah, I think they have like a private club now too, like a
Wow,
members only
wow.
club kind of thing. So yeah, it's like a lot of celebrities stay here while they're filming movies and stuff like that, which we'll talk a little bit about more later, but it's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And the other really crazy thing too was the timing of this. So like historically, think about he's building this in the 20s on a dirt road. And by the time everything gets done, it opens February 1st, 1929, the first year of the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So this was a big hit for Horowitz and his investors, and that led to the chateau being sold to somebody else. By the time it was 1931, it sold for $750,000 to a man named Albert E. Smith. And Smith was the founder of the motion picture company Vitagraph, so he had some moolah as well. And it was Smith that would convert the property into the famous hotel and like design that you see today.
Well, $750,000. Sorry,
No, you're fine.
to buy this hotel, which you can't even buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom in this area nowadays, you know? Like I understand the times are different, but $750,000 for that, and now you can't get an apartment. Like it's
Yeah.
wild. That is so crazy.
I think it had a lot just to do with the depression, because I feel like it, considering how much he was charging for the rooms, I feel like it would have normally sold for a lot more, but because he was desperate for money, it was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
So visitors started flocking to Los Angeles during the 1932 Summer Olympics. And so the new owner, Smith, saw this as an opportunity to start getting in more guests. So he wants to make this like very shiny and appealing for people. And so he was one of the first people to start pulling people in from Hollywood to work here, including silent film actress Ann Little. She was the property manager. She did a lot of decorating, adding a woman's touch, and lots of eclectic pieces from Southern Californian estates. There was a lot of expensive artwork in there, and the area was very up and coming. This was becoming the Sunset Strip, which today is a hot spot for tourist activity. So it wasn't difficult to start getting guests. And it very quickly became a place for rich celebrities and directors of Hollywood to stay. It also became a place for people to get away with all kinds of things, though, because again, it's lawless, it's private. These people are very, very rich. So just things to keep in mind for later.
Oh boy.
So by the time it was 1937, Smith purchased an additional plot of land nearby with several existing two-story rental homes, remodeling them into the now famous bungalows. And this was a big pull for the Hollywood stars because these bungalows were completely private. They were more spread out, kind of away from the street where all the paparazzi was starting to gather, which, fun fact, while I was researching this, I found out the paparazzi became a thing in the 30s. So this was like, I hate paparazzi. I hate paparazzi.
It blows my mind. I mean, yeah, people are like that all the time and every time. I don't know why it shocked me that it started in the 30s, but still, I'm just like, no, they have to be more recent than that. Wow.
Yeah, so in the 30s is when it started, at least in the US. From the 40s through the early 70s, the Marmont would pass through several more owners. They would do some remodeling. They would add some new things on. And there was a period in the 70s where the hotel kind of fell into this state of despair, and it was purchased for $1 million by a man named Sarlot Kantarjian. He was a real estate guy. He owned a construction firm. And he was able to fix the hotel's poor condition, figure out the finances, and they gave it quite literally a fresh coat of paint. Sarlot also had the chateau declared a historic cultural monument. So that's why, or at least I think that's why it looks so like the old, if you look at the old pictures, like in the second slide, side by side, you see how similar the main structures still look. It's like they wanted to keep that authenticity.
Yeah, like if you get that historical thing, I think you're not even allowed, right, to change too much about the structure. Or if you do have to refurbish it, you have to almost do it in the same style. So probably if it keeps that status, it'll probably almost always look this way, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there's like way more red tape today over the Chateau Marmont. Like I would usually with historic monuments, you have like almost like the neighborhood police people, you know, you have like that group that has to approve everything before you can change it.
Like a major HOA.
Yeah. So in the spring of 1990, hotelier André Ballas bought the Chateau Hotel for $12 million. It would be Ballas's that would really revamp the place, and he made it more upscale, profitable, and very idyllic for the 1%. So this isn't really a place that like we could just go stay a night at and do some ghost hunting, unfortunately.
No. Darn it.
I wish. Ballas would open up Bar Marmont on Sunset Boulevard in 1995, and this is where Leonardo DiCaprio had his 21st birthday.
Okay, Leo. I'd say I see you, but no, I wasn't there.
Author Sean Levy, who has done extensive research on the hotel, did an interview with Los Angeles Magazine in 2019. When he was asked, "Did you use any accounts from hotel staff for your research?" Levy would say, quote, "I did. The majority of people who I was able to talk to that worked there under the current ownership had signed non-disclosure agreements when they took their jobs. I'm talking about valets in the parking garage and busboys. People are wary of sharing their stories, but they do, and they're exactly the stories that you would think they would be. Someone famous showing up at 4 o'clock in the morning, glassy-eyed. Someone being filleted in a nook off the kitchen. It was stuff that confirmed what I understood, but it didn't always rise to the point of me being able to include it in the book," end quote. So he's talking about NDAs, he's talking about things that are clearly going on that it's like, okay, these people, it's Hollywood, like we know people are struggling with addiction and we're seeing it firsthand at the Chateau. And there's so many things that I'm sure we will never know about because it happened at the Chateau. But there's also a lot of things that we do know happened. Like we know that affairs have happened here. Johnny Depp, I'm going to get to later, but he stayed here before and he had some interesting stuff to say. But
oh boy.
First, let's just go through, and this is not by any means an all-inclusive list because thousands of celebrities have stayed here and partied here. So these are just some that stuck out to me. So people who have stayed at this place. So there's Led Zeppelin, Marilyn Monroe, Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate before she was murdered. She got pregnant at the Chateau.
Oh, bad mojo. Bad mojo.
Yeah. Robert De Niro, Johnny Depp, SNL creator Lorne Michaels, Tim Burton, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Courtney Love, Lana Del Rey, Anthony Kiedis and John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which Anthony Kiedis, for those of you who don't know, I can't remember how old she was, but I think she was like 14. Yeah, you know about this? Okay.
Yeah.
So he raped a 14-year-old and bragged about it in his book and how he could get away with it because she was in love with him and he literally wrote this in his book. He was like, I could just tell her dad that she's in love with me and she told me how old she was and then I had sex with her again on the bathroom floor. Like this man is disgusting.
Absolute trash.
Garbage. Yeah, disgusting.
Yeah, absolute trash.
In my opinion. Allegedly.
In my opinion. In my opinion.
I mean, he wrote it in a book. So I feel
as long as you source that book, there it is. Can't be sued because it's in there.
It's in his book. It's in his book. I'm not exaggerating. He was very proud of it, which is just so insane to me. But
disgusting.
So Keanu Reeves has stayed here, Scarlett Johansson, David Bowie, Beyonce, Mick Jagger, Britney Spears. I could go on and on. Tons of celebrities have also partied here. Elton John, Elizabeth Taylor, Hugh Hefner, the Backstreet Boys, Quentin Tarantino, Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, Zendaya. So those are just to name a few. There were way more.
Wow.
So Lindsay Lohan also lived here for 2 months in 2012. She racked up $46,000 in bills that she owed before she was asked to leave. And I found, it's in the 11th slide, I found the letter that the Chateau sent her.
Oh my gosh.
It seems like she just checked in and literally was not paying for anything. And they were giving her warnings, and then they eventually were like, okay, you're not paying for anything, so you're out of here.
Yeah.
That is wild. I need to read this whole thing later because that is crazy.
Yeah. This is also the infamous spot where Britney Spears had a mental breakdown and smeared food across her face while she was eating in the dining room in 2007. There's been tons of affairs here, insane parties. mental breakdowns. Johnny Depp once claimed that he and Kate Moss stayed there and had sex in every room. So just wild things happening here.
What did they do?
Gosh.
Rent the how much does
I
it
was
cost to rent the entire place? Because how do you even do that?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, are you talking about every room in your like 6-room bungalow or something? Or are you
Right.
talking
that
about
makes a lot more sense.
I feel like that has to be it because I'm like, there's no way that you had sex in every room of the chateau.
Right.
There's
No
just no way.
That is, oh my gosh. My head went straight to the fact that it was literally every room in the entire building.
I did
And
too.
you
That's
make
what I
more
thought.
sense.
So if we want to put like our conspiracy hats on for a second, everybody
Okay.
just stick those
Yep.
on for a sec.
Yep.
Yep, thank you. Thank you very much. So this is where the 1% stay. And if there's anything we know about the 1%, it's that they have all of the resources, all of the availability and time to get away with a lot of things. So when you hear stories like this of, oh, so-and-so had an affair with this person, they got this person pregnant, they showed up with these drugs, and then you know that all of their employees have signed NDAs, like these are the things that we're hearing about. So what is it that we're not hearing about,
Yeah.
you know? So this place could have some shady, weird stuff going on that people can't talk about. So just things to keep in mind. But let's talk about some of the most well-known guests that have stayed here and left a lasting mark. John Adam Belushi was born January 24th, 1949, and he was a very famous American comedian. He was an actor, musician, and he was one of the 7 of the original SNL cast, Saturday Night Live. He was also like one of the most popular people on SNL. Everyone who watched him was like, oh my gosh, this guy's so funny. We love John Belushi. In 1975, Chevy Chase and Michael O'Donoghue recommended Belushi to the SNL creator and showrunner, Lorne Michaels, who accepted him as a new cast member of the show after an audition. Belushi developed a series of characters on the show, and he became super successful. He did these imitations of Henry Kissinger and Beethoven. He also starred in a lot of famous films, National Lampoon's Animal House, 1941, The Blues Brothers, and Neighbors. He also pursued interests in music, which resulted in him founding the Blues Brothers Band with Dan Aykroyd, who is still alive today. Despite his major success in talent, like many other people in Hollywood, Belushi would struggle severely with substance abuse, specifically cocaine. Belushi was dismissed from Saturday Night Live several times and rehired more than once because of this. He was having noticeable health issues as well in the early to mid 70s because of the drug use. Cocaine was frequently used by other cast members and writers of SNL because they were staying up all night doing insane things. And Belushi quickly got out of control. He was thrown off set, so he was going through a lot. He was confronted by his director, John Landis, during production of the Blues Brothers movie, and Landis would discover a large amount of cocaine in Belushi's trailer. Belushi was also frequently late for his call times and would delay shooting by wandering off set. He managed to quit his habit for a while, but like many addicts, he would relapse during his filming of Neighbors. Just a few months after filming for Neighbors ended, Belushi would check in to the Chateau Marmont, staying in Bungalow 3 on February 28, 1982. On March 4th, 1982, Belushi visited the LA office of his manager, Bernie Brillstein, and he asked him for money. Brillstein knew what he wanted money for, so he said no. Later that day, Belushi returned and asked Brillstein for money again while he was in the middle of a meeting. So sad.
It is so sad.
And Brillstein was reluctant to rebuke Belushi in front of the other people, So he gave him the money. He didn't want to make
Oh
a
my
scene.
gosh.
So in the early morning hours of March 5th, Belushi, while he was in the Chateau Marmont staying in his bungalow, was visited by several friends, including Robin Williams, Robert De Niro, and a woman named Kathy Smith. Around 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday, March 5th, 1982, Belushi's fitness trainer and bodyguard Bill Wallace would show up to the bungalow to deliver a typewriter to Belushi along with an audio recorder. He had requested these things previously, and so he shows up, knocks on the door, nobody's answering. So eventually he opens the door, and this is where he would find John Belushi lying in his room, dead. No one was present in the bungalow at the time, except Belushi, obviously. Neither law enforcement nor a representative of the coroner's office revealed the details of what happened either for 6 days. So initially, the paparazzi, I'm sure, were going crazy in the media, and they're like, what happened? What happened? What happened? So 6 days of silence. If you think about like a celebrity dying now, like when
It's 13 seconds.
Yeah.
yeah, like we either immediately know what happened or like literally a day or two later. Like I'm blanking on his name right now, but the guy who played Chandler on Friends.
Oh yeah, Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry, yeah. When he died recently, it like took, I think, a day or two for them to talk about what had happened. But like these things come out a lot quicker. So just imagine like this huge celebrity dying very young. Like he was only 33.
Right.
And then 6 days goes by and you like don't know what happened. So this was a huge deal in the media. There's pictures of them taking him. He's covered up, but there's pictures of the coroner and everybody taking him away. It would later be revealed that the day John Belushi's body was found, his good friend Robin Williams, had been at the chateau visiting him. And Williams was not taking a liking to the woman that was there. He said that she made him feel very uncomfortable. Sorry, I'm blinking. Kathy Smith. Williams said he was creeped out by Kathy Smith. He felt uncomfortable around her. He didn't really know who she was. And he deemed her a lowlife. Police would insist during this time that John Belushi's cause of death, though, was natural causes. And remember, he's 33.
33, and based on the lifestyle he's been living and what you can find in the room, most likely. I mean, I wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
But
so eventually there was a preliminary hearing, September 1985, and 2 pathologists would testify that Belushi's cause of death was due to an overdose. So it turns out later that same day that Belushi's body was discovered, March 5th, Kathy Smith was arrested, the woman that was with him that night. Mm-hmm. So police would claim she was arrested under separate circumstances not related to Belushi. I don't know. Thought that was kind of weird. But it turned out that she was arrested for possession of narcotics. Kathy Smith was a Canadian backup singer. She was a groupie. She was a legal secretary, and she was a drug dealer. So Smith first met John Belushi on the set of SNL in 1976 when the band were musical guests on there. She later bumped into Belushi again through mutual friends, and it was Belushi that contacted Kathy Smith once he got the money from his manager to purchase drugs. So she came over to the bungalow, brought those to him, and Smith was eventually interviewed by police about the night in question. So according to Smith, she injected Belushi with 11 speedballs, which for those of you who don't know is a combination of cocaine and heroin.
Wow.
11.
Boy.
I mean, before I get into it, what do y'all think
Yeah.
so far? Like, what do y'all think the legal ramifications of something like this would be?
I mean, she needs to go to jail for murder. Especially if she's the one doing the injecting too. It's not like she handed him it and then he was like doing, like, if she was the one doing the injecting, come on, lady, you're a drug dealer. You have to know like the consequences of that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about drugs, but to me, 11 sounds like way too many of anything. Like, if I have 11
Yeah.
alcoholic beverages, I'm gonna go get my stomach pumped. If
Yeah.
I have 11 joints, I am like
Right.
on
Yeah.
another planet. No one can talk to me. I'm incoherent. So 11 speedballs, cocaine and heroin. I'm just like,
Yeah, I'm not sure how tolerance works in that realm drug wise, but I don't know how anyone's tolerance would be that high for
right.
11 of them. If it has its own specific name, you probably need to take it slow. Like,
I don't know how many hours passed that these 11 speedballs were given. And I mean, that's something else to consider is like, was she there all night? But still, like, that is so much.
That is, wow.
So she was later charged with second-degree murder. She pled no contest in 1986, though, to involuntary manslaughter. She received 3 counts of furnishing and administering controlled substances as well, and she would later be sent to prison. She stayed at the California Institution for Women, but she only served 15 months.
Not surprising.
Wow.
Hollywood, meanwhile, is reeling over this tragic loss. There's fans all over the world that are really upset about this. But some people claim John Belushi never left the building. In fact, comedian turned politician Al Franken claims to have experienced a paranormal encounter with his late friend while he was staying at the Chateau Marmont.
I have full body chills, my entire
So do
body.
I.
Oh
my
my
gosh.
gosh.
So Franken,
Ugh.
a skeptic himself, mind you, arrived at the chateau 1 week after John Belushi passed away. And he stayed in bungalow 3, the same bungalow where he died, which I'm like, why would you stay
in
Yeah.
that same place, dude? Oh my
And
god.
a week later, like, I'm surprised that
Yeah.
that was even being rented out a week after someone's passing in the room, you know?
Hollywood
Exactly.
don't care.
Yeah.
As
Oh, you're
soon
right.
as it's not an active crime scene, let's make money off of it.
Right.
What's crazy to me is that like he knew him, right? Like they weren't just like he didn't. It's not like, oh yeah, John Belushi, I saw his films, but like I never met. Like they were friends, right?
Yeah, they
So
were
like
friends.
as much as like Rachel, I love you and you're my best friend, I would not stay there.
No.
Well, you know I would haunt your ass, so I don't think you would want to stay
Oh my
there.
gosh.
One night, he's sleeping in bungalow 3 when he wakes up to see a full-bodied apparition of John Belushi standing over him.
Oh my god.
Franken would say, "John?"
Oh.
He called out, blinking, but by the time he got his glasses on, John was gone.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Oh.
my gosh. Did he ever say whether it felt like angry or it was just like his friend coming to be like, "Hey man, hope you're doing well."
Yeah, what was the vibe?
Well, yeah, what were the vibes?
From what I could find, the vibe was super neutral. Like it was just like,
okay.
I'm
He
here.
was there.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so I recently researched residual hauntings, and to me, this sounds like it could be residual.
Yeah.
And residual hauntings, for those of you who do believe in the paranormal, which I personally do, often happen out of traumatic experiences. And I would
Right.
take John Belushi's
Oh,
passing as
100%.
traumatic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with residual hauntings, those spirits can't interact with anybody. They're not even aware of your presence. It's like a replay of events.
Right.
So he's just
that
kind
was
of
going to be
standing
my
there.
question. So that's the one where they're just basically like kind of stuck in like the like kind of like the experience that they were, where they were and what they were doing and stuff like that. So like that's that one, right? I know there's different
Yes.
types. Okay.
Yeah.
So in my head, I guess I'm thinking like, you know, residual John might be like really high in his ghost form, and so like he probably doesn't even realize he's looking at an old friend as a ghost.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, he could have been dreaming. Like when I read this, I was kind of like, okay. And at this point in my story, I was thinking it could be residual. But then I remembered, I was like, why does John Belushi sound so familiar? And I remembered one of the first true crime podcasts I ever listened to, My Favorite Murder. Y'all know it, you'll love it. They had a mini-sode where someone wrote in about them staying at the Chateau Marmont.
What?
And seeing John Belushi's ghost. So,
oh my gosh.
I'm going to read y'all the story.
Oh my goodness. I got full body chills again. And also, everyone, support the three of us to go stay here so that I can see John Belushi.
Right? Guys, join the Patreon. Help us out.
Look, I'm just hitching a ride. I'm like, me too.
Yeah, join everybody's Patreon. Okay, so this is for those of y'all who want to listen to it, it's from Minisode 61, and it's the very first story they read. They say, moved into the same bungalow John Belushi died in. My parents took the master bedroom, my sister and I shared the second bedroom, and my little toddler brother got the large walk-in closet.
Oh, God.
In the closet.
Poor toddler.
Smoke alarms would go off for no reason. Doors would slam shut. Lights would turn on and off. And there was an overall feeling of an unseen presence. So this is me talking. This is poltergeisty.
Yeah.
So the first story I read, I was like, okay, it could be like residual, whatever. But this is like an interactive, this is an interactive haunting. So all this stuff's happening. And then the toddler brother, the little boy, then he starts talking about all this stuff that he's seeing. So toddler brother would wake up in the middle of each night calling for his mom. When this continued to happen, one day the mom asked what was wrong, and the toddler explained, quote, "The funny man woke me up. He wants to play cars," end quote. The mom also started noticing the toddler continued to seemingly talk to himself while playing. One day the mom was walking through the house and passed where the toddler was playing on the floor. She only took her eyes off of him for a few seconds, and when she came back, he was up in his crib, standing up.
Oh my
He
goodness.
did not know how to do this by himself.
Oh, so now I know residual. This is a
This is
haunting
poltergeist.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah.
No. And it's so funny now that you're saying this, because My Favorite Murder was legit one of the first podcasts I ever listened to as well. And I totally remember them talking about this story now that you're saying it. Oh my
I love
gosh.
this story. Yeah, and at the time, I, as being a person of the 90s, I didn't even know who John Belushi was, to be honest.
Right.
So it was really fun, learning about him and everything. Obviously a really tragic story, but I mean, he was incredibly talented.
Right.
I just think of Animal House when I think of him, but I didn't know all of the details that go along with this. But talking about the toddler boy, the kid, obviously kids are so, I don't want to use the word inviting, but just open to any of that paranormal or other things that are going on. And so that moment, as you were reading it, I'm just like, because I've had some moments with my daughter and it just consumes me. And I just feel like I feel like I'm wearing like a weighted blanket as you're talking about this because it's just so heavy. And I'm like, oh, and my heart's beating. Yeah. Oh.
So they eventually changed bungalows. They didn't experience any more strange activity. So it seems like it's stuck in bungalow 3.
Yeah.
But a few months went by, and one night, the mom was laying in bed with her son, and they were reading a book on the history of the Chateau Marmont. They turned to the page with John Belushi's face, and the boy started giggling and smiling. And he said, "That's my friend. That's the funny man."
Oh my gosh. I wish I had my camera ready to take a picture of the chills on my body right now.
It's so creepy, but it's also like sweet, you know?
It is sweet.
Because like that's why I was like, that's my question, is like, a lot of times, like, okay, what was the vibe when his friend saw him? Was it like an angry thing? Was it happy? Was he just like, but clearly, and this almost makes me happy for it, because like you said, like it was a traumatic way that he died. Like that was not, a peaceful way to go. But I like the idea that, and it's so creepy, but also makes me happy, because I like the idea that as he was in life, he is just happy, and he's funny, and he's making friends, and he's beloved, even in his, out of body. So much so that a young boy is like, yeah, that's my friend. He's funny. He wants to play cards with me. Like, that makes me happy, that hopefully it means like his spirit isn't stuck in a traumatic way.
Right.
That would be so sad, like, to know that like for eternity he's just, but if he's happy and he's chilling and he's playing with whoever comes into bungalow 3, I'm like, okay.
Well, and it's interesting too, because it's like 1 week after he passed, the haunting was a little bit more of a haunting. Like you have this full body apparition waking you up in the middle of the night, just kind of staring at you. And it's like, that was before the trial, that was before any kind of closure. And now it's like all this time has passed, and there's all these different people coming in and staying in this room, I'm sure. So, if we have those different types of things, like I'm sure it's very different to process those things in like the spiritual realm, but it's like he's obviously had way more time to process what happened, and now it's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to what I do best. I'm making people laugh,
Right. I love it. It's like almost like he was able to, like, he didn't have any closure in life, but it seems like he maybe at least after death, like got a little bit of closure, which is nice, which I like. It's creepy, and if my toddler ever did that to me, I would be thoroughly freaked out, but it's nice.
And there's one more guest that I wanted to talk to you guys about. This one's not as long, but he is in the very last slide. Another well-known guest to the Chateau Marmont was the famed German-American photographer Helmut Newton. Born on Halloween, 1920, Newton would make history around the world. New York Times described him as, quote, prolific, widely imitated fashion photographer whose provocative, erotically charged black and white photos were a mainstay of Vogue and publications, end quote.
Feel like I need to look up his pictures here.
I haven't yet, because I am so vanilla and I'm like scared. Because reading about them, I was like, these sound so dirty.
Now I feel like you have to look at least one up while you're on this episode so people can get your like raw
your reaction
right now.
Okay,
wait, when did you say this was? This was in like probably like the 80s, right? 70s, that he was a photographer?
When he became like a really famous photographer was in like the 60s, 70s.
Okay, so I mean, it can't be like that crazy in the 60s and 70s, right?
I don't know, because I'll read this to you and then I'll look up some pictures.
The first picture that I just saw was quite the picture.
Okay.
And the book is going for a lot of money.
Yes. Okay. So Newton and his wife in 1961, they had settled in Paris. And at that time, he was a fashion photographer. He was doing images for very big magazines there, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar. But he started doing these stylizations that were very erotic and often sadomasochistic.
Oh,
They would
Lord.
be fetishes. Like he was doing all kinds of stuff that you would only see on like OnlyFans now.
Oh, shit. Okay, man.
Or in like Playboy or something. So in 1970, Newton would have a setback in his career, suffering from a heart attack. But he would recuperate from this, and he continued to work, making a bigger and bigger name for himself. He shot a number of pictorials for Playboy, and his photographs have been sold in auctions for upwards of 20 grand.
Oh my gosh.
Moly.
I need to get into the erotic photography business because that's some moolah.
Some moolah.
Some moolah, baby. Before I read any more, I'm gonna look up those photos.
I was gonna say you totally don't have to because I'm not trying to like taint
no,
your
you're
vanilla ass
right.
at
I
all.
need to just.
The ones I'm seeing,
Oh, that
they're
one's not bad.
like horrible, but I wonder if, my safe search might be on.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because I mean, I see one of like a woman in a corset with bunny ears, and she's just kind of standing on a building.
Yeah.
There's one with a woman who's fully clothed, but her legs are open. So I'm kind of like, okay, like these really aren't that bad. But I mean,
Have
if you had
seen
ones in.
the crocodile picture? That
saw
one
the
caught my
crocodile
eye.
That was very weird.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was a tongue.
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there is a
No.
photo of a crocodile with like a naked woman and it's her backside, but all you see is like her torso down, sticking out of the alligator or crocodile's mouth.
Yikes.
Well, and I don't know
Interesting.
why it's different now, but when I told you guys like, whoa, when my jaw dropped, the first photo that popped up on my phone was full frontal nudity.
Oh,
And
really?
now when I type his name, it doesn't do that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I
Rachel
must
turned her
have a
safe
safe
search
search on because I don't have any. The most I have is like a
Apparently mine's
butt
not.
here and there. Okay.
Okay, y'all, I turned off my safe search, and yes, there is a lot of nudity.
Okay.
It's basically just like boobs.
Boobs.
So,
Yeah.
nothing we don't see on
Yeah,
regular
we've got
TV
'em.
today. I mean,
All right, turn the safe search back on, guys.
Right? Oh my God. In his later life, Newton relocated to Los Angeles, and he would often stay at the Chateau Marmont. On January 23rd, 2004, Newton was driving his Cadillac down Marmont Lane from the Chateau Marmont to Sunset Boulevard when he would suddenly lose control and crash into the wall of the driveway where he was staying at the Chateau Marmont. He was later taken to the hospital, but doctors were unable to save him and he was pronounced dead. It turns out he had had a massive heart attack while he was driving.
and he had a heart attack before, right? So yeah, okay.
Yeah. So he already had heart issues and had this massive one that unfortunately killed him, and it caused him to lose control, crash into the side of the chateau. Many have claimed that, like John Belushi, Newton never left the building.
Ooh.
Long-term guests of the hotel have claimed to see a man who looks remarkably like Newton, wandering around the bungalows, looking dazed and confused, and sometimes bleeding.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
Others have claimed to hear the click of a camera by the pool and look up and see nobody there. Which I'm also like, could be paparazzi, but, it could
Yeah.
also be Newton taking some pictures.
Yeah.
Well, and based on his pictures, I would say it makes sense that he's at
The
the
pool.
pool.
Right.
Yeah. And there could also be some other spirits that linger here. People have made complaints of laughter, glasses clinking together late at night, but when security goes down to investigate, there's nobody there.
Imagine being a security here. So not only are you having to deal with like
The living.
exactly,
Yeah.
the living like Hollywood, like Lindsay Lohan needing to pay $43,000, like you're having to deal with all that.
46.
But now you're also having to be like, I wonder if they split their security up. Like, okay, you're on the living watch, you're on the like supernatural watch, and like they have to like separate these guys out because there's just too much going on at one time.
We'll never know because they signed papers saying that they won't
It's
tell
true.
us.
NDAs.
Oh my gosh.
So I would like to end this episode with a quote from Kathleen at Los Angeles Ghost Tours. As it turns out, the hotel slogan, always open, always a safe haven, rings true for the dead as well as the living. The hotel boasts a reputation for fine dining, luxurious rooms, and glamorous guests, some of which still linger behind its poolside bungalows. So if you think you're brave enough, why not stop by for a drink at the Marmont? You might just get to meet a blues brother. End quote.
Gosh. Either living or dead, Blues Brothers. Seems like that's so crazy. That was so good. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's the perplexing and dark history of the Chateau Marmont and the tragic death of John Belushi and Helmut Newton.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you for that. And also, I feel like in an hour's time, I felt every single feeling you could feel. Because I was like sad at certain points. I had full body chills at certain points. I was laughing with you guys at certain points. And I'm just like, wow, I just went on a roller coaster ride of the Mormont.
And I think that's a perfect way to sum it up. It's like it seems like this place has a lot of secrets, but it also has, I would bet, some of the most fun and insane parties ever.
Manifest.
Yeah. I mean, if Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton are partying here, like I already know what's going on, you know?
Craziness. Absolute craziness. That is so interesting. And you know, it makes me think. So Rachel and I went on a ghost tour in Nashville, which had a lot of history. A lot of their stuff was like from like the 17 and 1800s, right? These buildings were like old. That was super, super interesting. We had a lot of fun times on that tour. I have done one in Cleveland, Ohio, which also had similarly like old buildings and like lots of stories related to, you know, tragic deaths and the building of these things. And now I really almost want to go do a ghost tour that will take me by. I mean, I'm right here. Like, I want to do a ghost tour. Take me by Chateau Marmont, like, please.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you do, I would love the details.
Oh,
that would
for
be
sure.
So fun.
You'll be my first call.
Yes. Well, I want to thank Like Mother, Like Murder, Rachel and Heather, for coming on this episode. This was so much fun.
It was.
And I would love if you guys gave them a listen. And if you do, let them know that Perplexity sent you. If you enjoyed today's episode and you haven't done so yet, please leave a 5-star review wherever you listen. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That really helps the show, boosts me up the charts, and that is much appreciated. If you really want to support the show, patreon.com/Perplexity Mystery Podcast is where you get exclusive bonus content and all the perks. You get ad-free episodes starting at just $1 a month, so you can go check out those tiers. And I'm doing a 7-day free trial right now on all of my tiers if y'all are interested, but you're not sure if it's for you. I also want to remind everybody, because at the time this episode drops, which is going to be July 31st, for you guys to know, by the way, today is the last day for my merch sale. So if you use the code SUMMER15 on Bonfire, you will get 15% off of your order. And I have 7 new merch designs on there. So go check that out if you have not. And I think that's all my announcements. Thank you, ladies, so
Yes,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
us.
having
This was
us.
so awesome. This was so awesome.
It was so much fun. I'm glad you guys had an awesome time too. You all are amazing. I hope you have a great week and stay safe, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you.
Love you. Bye. Yeah.